I personally sent him a wedding invitation, but I wrote my own time of death on the same day. He had promised that in our 5th year, he would take me to see the Northern Lights. But once again, he broke that promise, saying his company was in financial trouble. I nodded and said nothing, quietly slipping the cancer diagnosis deeper into my pocket. The next day, he flew to Iceland with his first love, smiling gently and attentively in every photo. Meanwhile, I lay in a hospital bed in Chicago, listening as the doctor calmly told me I had very little time left. He called me, his voice carrying a perfunctory guilt, saying he would make it up to me when he got back. I looked out at the falling leaves and softly said, "Come to my wedding next Wednesday." He sneered on the other end, said I was using marriage to threaten him again, and hung up. I didn't explain. I just circled that date on the calendar and wrote 2 words: the end. It wasn't a wedding, Dot. It was a funeral, my own carefully prepared farewell. The day he returned, Chicago was drenched in cold, relentless rain. He smelled of another woman's perfume, yet still wrapped his arms around me from behind. He said I'd lost weight as if he cared, but there was no real concern in his voice. He handed me a box of chocolates as compensation, like a careless act of charity. I glanced at the date. They were already expired. Still, he insisted I eat one. He said the taste wouldn't change, just like his attitude toward me unchanged as ever. I swallowed the bitter chocolate and asked, "If I died, would you feel sad?" He laughed, said I was too stubborn to die, said I was just being dramatic. I told him again about the wedding next Wednesday. He grew impatient, thinking I was forcing him to marry me. I handed him the invitation. He didn't even look at it, just stuffed it into his pocket and walked away. In that moment, I finally understood all my love was nothing but a joke to him. The next day, he took me to a company celebration and made me peel shrimp for his new lover. Once, he used to worry over the smallest cut on my finger. Now he made me endure the pain just to please someone else. I couldn't stop myself from gagging, and stumbled out of the room in humiliation. He called me embarrassing, said I was acting. I went to my friend Daniel's clinic. His eyes were red as he told me I had 3 days left. I nodded. That was enough. I wanted him to remember this wedding for the rest of his life. When I returned home, he told me to sleep in the storage room, because another woman would be staying in the master bedroom. He said the smell of my medication made her uncomfortable, as if that were completely reasonable. I didn't argue. Someone who is about to die has no need to fight. That night, the pain came in waves. I went to get my painkillers. He snatched them away and flushed them down the toilet. He said it was for my own good, said I was pretending to be sick for attention. I collapsed on the floor, trembling in pain, but I didn't shed a single tear. In that moment, the Jason in my heart died completely. The next morning, my parents' photos were shattered. He only cared whether that woman had been hurt. He swept the photos and broken glass into the trash, saying they didn't belong in the living room. I knelt on the floor trying to salvage them, but he ignored me like I was nothing like air. Daniel brought me a wedding dress. He thought I was putting on a show and tore it apart, mocking me. When I coughed up blood, he said I was playing the victim. The moment he turned and left, I decided I would never explain anything again. That night, I packed up everything that belonged to me and erased my past completely. I even liked a photo of him and that woman, wishing them a lifetime of happiness. Then I walked into the clinic and removed all the equipment keeping me alive. I didn't want to drag it out. I just wanted to leave on the promised day. Before I died, I called him one last time and told him I was in pain. He put me on speaker, letting everyone hear as they laughed at me. He said I was acting, said I was just trying to make him give in. In that moment, even my last shred of hope disappeared. With my final strength, I said, "I won't walk the rest of this life with you." Then the phone slipped from my hand. My heart stopped. Everything went quiet. The next day, he arrived at the so-called wedding with a mocking smile. But when he pushed open the door, he saw a room filled with white, and at the center, a black and white portrait of me. The air was thick with lily and candlelight, like a real funeral. He laughed, said I was still acting, but no one answered him. Daniel stepped forward, holding my ashes, and said, Welcome to her funeral. He refused to believe it until he saw the diagnosis and death certificate. Only then did he understand the medicine he had thrown away was my last chance to live. The pain he mocked was my final cry for help. He collapsed to his knees in despair. But there was no longer anyone to respond. Later, he went to Iceland and finally saw the northern lights I had longed for. Only then did he realize I had once sat there alone in the freezing wind all night. Back then, I had no money. I could only watch the sky from afar, unable even to afford a ticket. And he had been there too, not far away, enjoying the life I gave him with another woman. He broke down and wept, but it was far too late. After that, he lost everything, living like an empty shell. He tried to live the way I once did, repeating it over and over, but he would never see me again. He thought that was punishment, but he didn't understand the real punishment is the rest of his life. Because I am gone, and he must carry every memory with him as he continues to live, until he grows old, until he dies, and even then, he can never escape.